Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 13. Now for chapter 13, we will be replacing these stand-ins for our characters with the actual characters that we created in the previous chapters. So without further ado, let's begin. So taking a look at what we have now, since we recreated our claw machine, let's go back and just quickly position these in the right manner. They don't have to be so perfect for now, just enough so that they look decent. For example, this wrist, we obviously want to move that, and then place the hand over, and then we can just take this and just position it a little bit so it's like it's grasping the joystick. And then for the hand, we can also just take this and just rotate this over. And we will make finer adjustments later. So for now, this is looking all right. Maybe the hand can be a little slanted. Okay, so this looks like it's in almost the right position. Maybe we can move this out a little. Okay. So we can save this file for now. And what we have to do next is hide the bunny ears. And let's just select all our characters as well as the rigs and everything, and press Ctrl C. And now open up a new file and just Ctrl V so everything is in here. Regarding these, we can just delete them for now. And okay, so we have our characters in here. Now what we can do is create a new. Okay, what we can do now is to hover your mouse, and you see that it has turned into a crosshair. Now pull this over so we have two windows. Now with Blender, it's really easy to do. You can always keep on creating new windows, and then for each window you can tell them what to do. For example, this one, I can just turn this into a UV editor, or like or shader editor, so you can just recreate your desktop any way you want. And if you don't want this anymore, just go back to the crosshair and then move this down, and you can have your old window back. But for now, we will need this. And then for this one, let's go to Asset Browser. So we have all these assets right now. And just go to all. We can delete these. And with our character copied, we can open up a new window. And with Blender, you can always open up new windows by doing this, and you can just have this into a shader editor and move this into a UV editor, so you can just compose however your desktop you want. And if you don't want it anymore, you can always go back and hit the crosshair and then just move the window over until you see an arrow and just drop, and you have your old window back. So in our case, we want to create a new one and move this to the asset browser. So now you have a bunch of assets. You might not see this because this came with one of the plugins. So let's have this to all. So you won't need the hair, but yeah, this is the different assets. Now, before we do anything, we have to go to Edit, Preference, and then for your asset library, you have to select a folder for that. in order for it to be used. So then for me, I created one in my documents, and it's assets, and then just click accept, and then you have your asset set up. Okay, and now with our characters, let's just select the rig, and let's go to pose mode. And then okay, let's start with this character actually. With this character, let's go to pose mode and select all. And then by pressing N, we have this side open, and now you should get a tab called animation. Yeah. Okay, and now, well, you don't have to have this selected, but it's good to have this out for now. So just with all the rig selected, just go to your asset. Move this over to current file, so you're on the current file for this particular Blender file, and now you can click create an asset, and now we have created this pose as an asset. So what happens is, suppose we clear our pose, we can always just double click, and it'll go back to the asset that we saved. But this only works for the rig that is named with the correct set of bones, such as this. So if you suddenly got a rig for, say, like a huge crocodile or something, it might not work, or most likely it won't work. But among these, because they share the same rig, which is from DAZ Genesis 9, throughout all the Genesis 9 rigs, it should all work. So once you have this set up and you import another character, such as this, let's just go here, we can select her and double click, and she'll also go to this pose. So yeah, so now that our pose is an asset, we can go here. I'm just going to open up the file for now. Yeah, we have asset here, and I created a new folder called thumbnails. Why? It's because what we have right now is completely blank, but we want to know exactly what pose this is. So what we can do is we can hide all that and open up, your Windows snipping tool. You can also choose a screen grab or screen print and just crop it that way, or you can just use this file. I like to use this file. And for thumbnails, let's call this Colossal Character 1 Pose 1. Okay, so with this set up, we can close this and then go here, and now we can edit all the different names for that. For example, what we had before, we can also name it this way: Colossal Character 1 Pose 1. And you can also add all the description, licenses, copyrights here. So if you choose to give this asset to someone else, they'll also have all the different file here. So here I will go to assets, thumbnails, and I can give it a thumbnail. So now we know exactly which pose this is. And similarly, let's do that for the other character. So we can hide this for now. And for this character, we will be selecting only up till her calves, because we don't want her feet, because we have already set up the rig with high heels. So if we add this feet to already high heels leg, it'll just like bend over like this. So we don't want that. So we just want to have the top bones to be saved. And what happens is we can have this selected. We can turn this off. For example, you can also just double click this and I'll go here. Yeah, but yeah, that's why we can turn this off. And with this selected, as well as this, you can go here to asset and create asset. And similarly, let's take a photo of this pose first. I think this is a nice angle. And this can be character 2, pose 1. Okay, and then all right, so now we have our poses. And as you noticed before, we can, for the pose, what we can do is we can also select a portion of our rig, and we can, just move that. So similarly, you can also save a portion of your rig. For example, if we just save this as one of the, or actually let's take the hand and quickly let's move this so it's like she's giving a thumbs up. Okay, we can save this asset, create a new pose. Okay, and now we can Control Z this back. Oh, the pose is not saved. Okay, and suppose we open up this character here. Now with everything selected, we double click this and it changes her hands. So for the pose asset, you can also have like little pieces of hand. For example, you can change just a hand or one leg and save that as an asset, and then that can copy over to other rigs, moving just the hand or the legs you changed while keeping the rest of the body in place. So that's something really useful for the asset library. And similarly, you can just double click here, because with the animation tab, it will show all your poses in here. So right now we're still in the current file. Okay, let's recorrect our poses. Okay. And for this, we can just clear asset. Okay. And now all these poses are still left to. So right now, all the poses are still in current file, which means that other files, suppose we go to this character, this won't be able to show here. Let's go to asset library, and then all current file. There's nothing here there's nothing in the user library. So we want to save this in the user library so all the files can read our assets. It's actually really easy. We just go to File, Save As, and go to Assets, and let's create a Colossal Poses 1, for example. And now that is saved. Now we can go to our user library, and here our asset will also show up. So now let's click refresh, and now we'll have our assets. Okay, so now let's start with this character, since we've already opened this up. So we can go here and check in our modifiers tabs. We already have the armature set up, which means this is already parented to our bone. We can just quickly check this. So the hair is in place. I think the corset is not. The dress is not. The tights are. Okay. And the shoes are obviously, I think, not in place. Okay, so now we have to parent this to the rig But first, we have to change the rig so it's the same as the other one, the inverse kinematic rig. So we can go to, where's the DAS import? Here. So let's go to rigging, and like before, we just select convert to MHX and turn on the finger IK so we can, you know, pose the fingers later. Okay, so now this is all set up. We can turn on the other things. For example, we don't need the eyelashes, we can delete that. For the mouth, let's turn this on. And for the tears, yeah, we don't really need it, so let's just, yeah, turn this as is. And for this character, we just need this one hairstyle. We don't need the other one, but you can choose to have this in place. We can always switch around. And yep, for all these are okay. Now we can start parenting the rest to it. So as before, we select our core set and we select our character. And first, let's just check there's no vertex groups, and select the character. Let's transfer mesh data, and what we want to transfer is vertex groups. And source would be all layers. So now this is transferred over. We can delete the collision. Here, delete collision, and let's give it an armature. And for this, we will be selecting this armature. And then we can also P to parent this. So now when we move our character, the core set will also move as well. Okay, so now that's done. We can also go here and check. Now see the core set moves with our character. And for this, it's already parented, so that's fine. And for the shoe, we want to also parent this. We're gonna delete the vertex group on the shoe, so there's nothing here. And then we select the shoe and then the character and transfer mesh data. And everything is set, all layers, vertex group, nearest vertex. And now we add an armature. And we can parent this over, keep transform. So this is parented. And now let's go to pose mode and just give it a quick check. Okay, so right now the foot is moving as the mirror. So here, let's move the mirror here. So it mirrors first, and then it follows the armature. So this way, when we move our foot, only one side moves. And then this is moving with this foot. So it's mirrored first, and then this mirror would then follow the rig. Yep. Okay, and this as well. Transfer mesh data and parent this. Add an armature. And okay. And lastly, for the skirt, we also do the same thing. Notice how we already have a skirt fixed. That's because we weight painted this so that when we do the cloth simulation, only the parts shown in blue and a little bit of the green, they will move according to the cloth simulation, while the top, because it's wrapped tightly around the hip, it's not going to move, or else we'll have all our little pieces just flying out. So we don't want that. And we just want the bottom part of the dress to move around. So we'll be leaving this vertex group in place. So let's select our skirt and transfer over the vertex groups. Okay, when that's done, let's check the skirt again. So the skirt fixed is still there while the rest are added. Okay, first let's parent this. Okay, now that is parented, we can go and check out our cloth simulation again. Okay, so the cloth simulation is gone after all the vertex and everything has been transferred over. That's fine. We can delete the collision now, so when we do the calculations later, it'll be a little faster. The simulation calculations will be a little faster. And let's turn on cloth again, because our timeline is at 28. Let's first move this all back to 0. Okay, so for the quality steps, let's give it 8. And for the vertex mass, let's give it 1, because it's a leatherish skirt, so it's not really that flappy, so it's more rigid. And for these, it's the same as before. Change these to 10. And for the pin, it's still the skirt fixed, so it's not going to move. For the collision quality, let's give it also to 8. Distance to the lowest. Okay, so these are mostly all set up. And go ahead and save as. Yeah, I already made a test before, so let's just go here and then class 13. Let's do character 1. Okay, so now that this is saved, we can go ahead and start playing around with our assets. I like to turn off all the hair, so we can see exactly what is going on. And then for our assets, let's just go to pose mode with everything selected. Let's just test this out. Okay, so now you see the character has essentially moved to the pose we had before. Now we go back and we want this to start off at the most origin point, and we can move this to 60 and then click on the asset, and then with this selected, let's insert a keyframe. Well, we want this to be moved to the dope sheet and then insert keyframes. And then for 0, let's select this again and then clear all transformations. Okay. Okay, and now let's move this to 60. And with our pose selected, let's give it that pose. And then right click and click insert keyframe, and then let's just do the whole character. Okay, so now the whole character has moved, and then at 0, or actually 1, let's go to pose and clear all transformations. So this is the beginning. Let's delete this for now. So delete all of them. Okay. So we can clear transformation. And then from 60, we give it this pose, insert keyframe, and the whole character. And then now let's go back to 1, and then do clear transformations, and then insert keyframe, whole character. So now we can have a character that moves along the keyframe, and then we'll use this animation to simulate our cloth. So we can move these to the side. And we can go hide the rest of the assets. Let's start with the fur coat first. And for the tights, let's turn that off. We can even turn off the bones for now. So we just have our basic coat and our character. And let's select our coat. We can turn off the subdivision for now, as well as the solidify. So this is the most simplest form of the coat. And let's go to cloth. And our pose was at 60. Let's end this at 100. So once the pose stops, we'll still give it some time for the cloth to settle down. So now with this, let's click bake. So this is going to take a little while. I'll see you guys when the bake is finished. Oh, and while it's baking, don't worry if you don't see the animation move. It's fine. It's already being done in the background. So as long as the simulation finishes and you drag your keyframe to say 100, you'll see all the pieces move. So don't worry if it's if the character is standing still at the moment. Okay, now that the simulation has baked, let's go here and we can see that the cloth is moving. Let's wait for it to settle at 100. Okay, perfect. And now let's go back here. We can turn on our subdivision and we can turn on our solidify and our particles. And now we have a fur coat that is hanging on the character, looking quite naturally. We have some parts of the inside flipped out, which is really nice. We can go and fix the particles later. But overall, I think it's looking quite nice. It's got that really natural look. Okay, and now we can just turn off the fur coat and let's go to our skirt. Now with our skirt, we can first try to simulate this. Let's see how this looks. Right, we have to add an armature first. Forgot to do that. Let's click on the armature. Okay, and now this will work. Yeah, it's following along really slowly, but we can just have a preview of what the bake would look like. And the skirt right now, it looks really soft. It's like made of some sort of like a soft material. That's because it's rendering with the subdivision. Now we can move the subdivision up, and then we can now take a look again. And the cloth is looking a little better. So we can go back and just bake this and see how this will look like. So it's a lot of back and forth of baking and changing some of the numbers here and baking again, just to make sure that the effect is what we're going for. So let's go here and bake again. Okay, the bake is done. Let's take a look. Yeah, I think it's looking quite nicely. Let's see how it looks when we push this to 100. Okay. Yeah, it's a little short at the back. We can give it a little more length. Or if you want it, you can just have it like this. It's also fine. But I think right now it's looking okay. It's sort of like those hard leather vinyl